You're listening to a Rock Candy podcast.
You are now entering Magnified Studios. Welcome.
Coming to you from Magnified Studios, Magnified Pod presents It's Hard to Find a Podcast, covering your favorite indie bands from the 90s Christian alternative scene. Put your tape decks on record. I'm Andrew.
I'm John.
This is our podcast, and I think it's probably safe to say that you and I are both healthier than the last time we recorded.
Trying.
I think one of us is maybe a little bit more well rested than the other for that long deserved break that you have right now. But we also have spring right around the corner. We got some 60 and 70 degree days coming our way here in Minnesota. I don't know what it's looking like for you.
We haven't had snow in weeks and weeks, and I know you guys have it very recently. So is it melting or what? What's going on?
Yeah, it's melting. It was on April Fool's Day, and I kept seeing these reports of snow on, and I'm like, what if this was just a big old little like the weather service is like, LOL, JK,
we're just trolling.
We're just trolling you, and then we just got dumped this. It was so heavy. The snow was super, super heavy.
Yeah.
And it like you drive around the neighborhoods and like there'd be branches and trees down because the snow was so heavy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is why you don't snow in April, because it's barely snow and it's just, a billion pounds. And this just makes me extra grateful that I took that tree down in my front yard last fall. Because
for real,
that shit would have been fallen on my house or even worse, my neighbor's house. And that would have been a disaster.
Well, as Prince reminded us, sometimes it snows in April.
Yes, he did.
So this does happen.
Yeah.
But I think I saw that this is the third most snow in Minnesota winter history this year.
Did it you get that high? Yeah.
Just seems like it kept coming every time I
know, it's rude.
Yeah.
It got cold early this year and it's sticking around until April. So but I'm hoping that we had, for those of you not in the Midwest, we have something we refer to as false spring or second winter. Right. When you have that initial kind of like warm up, and you're like, oh man, we've made it. This is sort of the turning point. Mm-hmm. And then the Midwest has other plans, and you get more cold days, or in our case, get more snow. And so now we had our false spring, and now we have maybe actual spring coming up. Yeah,
you all have earned it up there. I hope spring comes soon. And yes, we're feeling, we're over our colds. We're feeling a little more hopeful. Spring's around the corner. So
yeah. Do you know what else is right around the corner? Is this glass of wine that I'm going to pour for myself?
Yes.
What I'm feeling grateful for as well is saying fuck it. Yes. UB40 on the podcast today.
Hey, I be 40, you be 39.
Hey-o! Nailed it. I took tomorrow off of work because it's been more than just 1 week. It has been a number of weeks for me, and I'm just tired.
Yeah.
And everybody on my team is like just really tired right now. Yeah. And like my boss, she's like, I think after our team meeting, we should all just go home and like take a nap. She's like, separately, of course, but everybody was just in that mood. So
I mean, I'm not saying it's unrelated to the unrelenting snow. Maybe that adds to the general malaise up there right now. But
did I send a an email to my psychiatrist this week, and did I use the word ennui? I sure did.
Oh man.
If you live in the Midwest, you just tend to have at this point, just you're just tired, and I'm over. So here's my
cheers,
California Cab Sav. I'm finishing this bottle because I'm an adult and I do what I want.
That's right. I'm an adult. You don't have work tomorrow.
Welcome to the real world, jackass.
We were just saying off mic that maybe we should, every time we record, take the next day off. Your boy's feeling loose. We can have some wine. I have nothing as exciting tonight. I got just a big old thing of water, but I do have the aforementioned daily vacation these days.
That's true.
Because as we said, I turned 40. I then went on a week-long trip to California, the land where your wine is from. And then I started a 3-month sabbatical where I don't do anything. So I'm ready to podcast whenever. I'm ready to hang out if people want to hang out. Right. But no, it feels very glorious after, as we were saying, a lot of many weeks of stress in a row for years. So earning some time off feels really good. 40 felt scary and now feels good. I'm living into it. And man, this trip I went on was pretty great. Stayed with a friend of the pod, Patreon Punk, early guest Tyler Day, in San Diego. They have 2 kids about our kids' age. They have a pool in their freaking backyard. That's California. Speaking of weather, has had some trouble too. It was like cold and rainy up until we got there, and then basically the whole time we were there it was great, and then it got kind of rainy and cold when we left. So we pretty much lucked out. But it was nice to just even if it wasn't like super hot, like just go sit in the backyard in some sun first thing in the morning. Put your feet in the pool. I was like, man, this is life. Why are we doing what we're doing? And that was great. And then we spent a couple nights in LA. That was wonderful. Did some Hollywood sights and checked out the Griffith Observatory and looked over the city and did a birthday dinner at this old Hollywood restaurant, Musso and Frank's, which you might know from some movies.
The Griffith Observatory. I guess the movie that I mostly associate with that is Rebel Without a Cause.
It's probably the most famous one. Yeah. There is a James Dean statue on site.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, where you can take your pick with James. But no, it's such a cool spot. You can see the Hollywood sign there and look out over the whole city. And man, it was great. We did some of the sort of Hollywood gotta see him things, but then we also
with all the normies
we spent like half an hour on like the Hollywood walk in front of the Chinese theater and stuff, and we're like, all right, it's time to get the fuck out of here and go do something else on this.
See any cool stars, like as in like actual stars on the?
Saw Dolly Parton's. That was a good one.
Dope.
We saw a bunch. We did the whole like look at the handprints and footprints and all that, and you see pretty much like everybody. But yeah, some of the stars you're like, who is that? But you kind of see all the legit ones too, and they're like strategically placed where the important ones are near the sites, and then you get a couple blocks away, and it's like I don't remember that particular person.
Yeah. I also remember, it's been in like the past couple of years, I feel like that Trump's star just keeps getting destroyed.
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
People taking like
burning it and stuff.
Sledgehammers and shit.
Yeah. Did not spy his star. Supposedly the letters on Trump Tower in Chicago may be coming off. The city council is trying to.
Oh my gosh, they're still up.
Oh, they're still up, baby.
Man.
But there's a law where like if a person has convicted of a crime, they can have their like designation removed from a public place or something.
Hell
so they're
yeah.
like trying to do that. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But it was great. Spent the night of this birthday observed dinner. Went out to a couple places, and we went to this place, Davy Wayne's, which I don't know if any of our SoCal friends know, but it was like this cool bar where you enter in through a fridge with like a Miller Lite sign over it. Like that's the entrance to the place.
Nice.
And then at midnight, a band comes on and, did some kind of, classic sing along hits, but it was midnight and we were, 40-ish and all kind of falling asleep, but we really pushed hard. And then, I don't know, what else did we do? It was just it was a really great time. Kids went surfing, spent a lot of time in the water. I'm sure there's other great things that happened. I'm forgetting them all now, but it was a really great week away. Got to kind of check into my new post-working headspace and just kind of feel the vibes for what it's going to be like to not work for a while. So
hell yeah.
Next week, Jenny booked me a cabin near Eau Claire, Wisconsin,
yes.
which has just been named one of the like hottest unknown towns in the country or something like that, where it's like they're calling it the new Austin because of the Bon Iver influenced kind of music scene that's built up there. So I'm excited to check that out. And I can't remember how much of this I've said, but whatever. I'm doing 2 nights away at this like tiny house cabin in the middle of the woods by myself, which I'm like, man, I can't remember the last time I've done anything like this for that amount of time alone. So really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I made some joke about you writing your Cabin Core record while you're there.
Of course. Yes. I will get right to work on that. Disney was the other thing I mentioned, or that I didn't mention that we did.
Oh, sure.
We went to Disneyland. Write my Disney Core record. It was pretty great. I don't know. I'd been to Disney World, but never Disneyland. And we got to go to Galaxy's Edge and check that out. Nice. And that was rad. And Mando came over and talked to us, and Grogu was moving around in there. And I was like, how are they doing this? And he talked to the kids and took a picture. And then there was like a whole scene that played out where Kylo Ren like stopped walking in the middle of the crowd and like pointed at Elliot and was like, "You've been talking to the Resistance, haven't you?" And like the stormtroopers were like, "Yes, sir, this is what we were telling you about." And like did a whole little scene. I don't know, dude. It was just rad. It was a good time. We went to Avengers Campus, and the Dora Milaje led the kids in like some Wakanda exercise moves.
Dope.
It was a good time. So recommend California. That's my takeaway. Looking forward to cabin times. Just,
you're getting the best of both worlds there. You're getting the big old like, touristy California experience. Now the like isolated, secluded, alone, quiet time.
It's pretty great.
That's great,
Soaking it in. Perhaps this stage of calm will end soon when we move ? So
yeah,
possibly moving soon. Who knows? Maybe it'll be snowing in May when I move up there with you. Man, we'll see what happens, man.
Dude, you can't play with my heart like that.
I will be up there at some point.
I know.
Jenny and I were just looking at something today where like we do this so much with like anything that we look at that's like in the summer or in the fall at this point. We're like, well, should we commit to this thing? Where will we be? And she's just like, no, we're done. We're moving. We'll be there. We need to stop like doing this like game. So it's happening.
Hell
we just don't know when. So
yes.
Anyway.
God. Yes. Yeah.
I'm gonna be in that basement with you soon, bud.
Dude, yeah. That's when John and I are doing our horror punk surf rock band.
Yeah. The podcast might slowly morph into a making of a horror punk band podcast.
Making of album about surfing vampires and
that's right.
and rock and roll werewolves.
Oh man. Speaking of which, I'm going to say this 20 times on this episode. I can't remember if we've talked about this on the podcast or not because the last several months are a blur. Have we talked about Patreon punk Eric Gentry's Hatman song on mic yet?
I don't think we have. I think it came, we heard it like, maybe January or February.
Okay. Well,
but I don't think we've talked about I don't think, because I thought he was saying to like at that point, like keep it on the DL or something like that.
I think we can talk about the fact that the song exists.
Okay,
but we've been asked not to play it quite yet.
Sure.
But our dude Eric wrote an amazing song about the Hat Man, inspired by my experience with this terrible demon. And it's catchy and it's creepy, and the plan is, I believe, for his band The Adorkables to do a full version of it. So when it's proper and it's time to share it, we certainly will. But he sent me an updated version recently too, where he kind of beefed it up a little more. I'll just send that over to you. But it's so good, man. I can't wait to share it.
I mean, the rough edit version, demo version, was still super great.
Pretty great. So more horror punk coming everyone's way soon.
Hell yeah. On that note, I'm gonna pour myself some more wine.
Glass number 2.
Yeah. So as we were getting ready to sign on to start, I got a notification from New York Times, have their like digital subscription or whatever, and saw this headline: moderate drinking has no health benefits. Analysis of decades of research finds. Okay. The review found that the methodology of many previous studies was flawed and that risk of myriad health problems increased significantly after less than 2 drinks a day for women and after 3 for men.
So that stuff about like red wine being, kind of good for your heart and all that.
The risks to men increased significantly at 45 grams of alcohol a day or just over 3 drinks. I just want to have like a thing that like sometimes I just want to have some drinks, and just fucking nerds ruining it for me.
Nobody asked for this study to be done. All right. New York Times.
Yeah. No, I am in no way saying that sobriety or not drinking is for nerds or whatever. I'm just saying that I don't have vices, Sure. Like, and if I want to have some drinks and stuff every once in a while, and then I can't even have like everything's a bummer in the news. Just let me have some wine. Just let me have my beers.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Just let me. What's the quote? I'm scared about how much I need wine. Is that you right now?
Yeah, that's pretty much me.
And a bucket of popcorn or whatever she says. Yeah, I mean, like, you're stressed. People deserve a reward in times of stress, and I think moderate wine consumption. There are many worse vices to be had, but I will say a long time staple of the pod was beer or something else and candy pretty much every week. And that was also, a lot of the pod has been during COVID, aka the time when I punished my body by way of thinking I was rewarding it for like years on end. So I think for a long time I was like, I'm so fucking stressed. I've earned this drink. I've earned this candy. And then like, it turns out like 3 years of that is not super good for you.
No.
So I've been trying to cool it with that. Although I will say, rating my children's holiday candy collections has also been a staple of the pod. And
for sure,
we were putting together their Easter baskets tonight. I was like, it would be so easy to pocket some of this and bring it down to the stewed in the basement and rate some candy with you tonight. But I've just got my water here. I think the scientists can shut up and you can enjoy your wine. And we got to reward ourselves in the ways that we can.
Yeah, I've been saying for a while that I'm trying to do less sad drinking. But I saw some stand-up clip from this dude about growing up in the Midwest and drinking in the Midwest, and how like when you go out to California and meet people out there and they see how people from the Midwest drink, they're like, they immediately are like, you need to go to rehab. And it's like, he's like, yeah, because he talks about just like in the Midwest, you drink to get through the winter. You're like, right. And then like when it's finally like the nice weather comes around, you're like, oh man, it's so nice out. I got to go outside and drink.
Go pound some beers outside.
I know, right? Yeah. It's just it's not a healthy dynamic, but
no. It's true of food too in the Midwest, right? We're just like, bring on those portions, carb centric. We're pounding to get to warm up in these cold times.
I know.
California doesn't need to pound a bunch of different starches to get through anything out there. But
no. Yeah, especially if you're in weather that's consistently highlighting a lack of clothing,
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Or for us out here, it's nothing but hoodies and jeans and
thicker flannel, and you're fine. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Like we're fooling anybody.
It all looks great under my giant hoodies. I don't know what you're talking about.
You know what? Something that we haven't been doing in any level of moderation is voicemails or emails.
Nailed it. Solid transition.
We had that just a long ass break after the holidays, and then we came back and just hit some albums and had some guests. So we have quite a backlog of people who have reached out to us, and been feeling kind of bad about it, but we apologize for leaving some of you hanging, but we definitely want to get to those now. And John, where should we start?
Well, what I was saying off mic was a lot of these are Christmas related, and it is Christmas season with Joe Christmas on the pod.
True.
And sometimes it snows in April, so it's still pretty relevant. But yes, we've received many great and thoughtful emails and voicemails and voice memos that we've wanted to talk about. It's just that we had to take a while to get through them, and many of them are Christmas related. So I think once we decided, hey, let's have an episode where we can chill out. We don't have a guest. We don't necessarily have an album. We'll just kind of spend some time getting through these thoughtful thoughts from Magpod Nation and go through your messages. So I think it's like mid-December, I want to say, is kind of when we need to look back on.
So we do have some we have something from our boy Bobby G.
We sure do.
Opening this for the first time. Robert Gay, known for being the soloist, the child soloist in the Christmas Shoes.
Indeed.
Song that very divisive song. I think a lot of people kind of rag on it for being as corny and cheesy as it is. But he titled this is from December 16th.
Yeah, I'm sure he meant for us to play this on our Christmas episode, which we recorded like that day or the day before or something. Yeah. But oh well, sorry, Bobby.
Yeah. The Christmas Shoes parentheses ska version.
I'm sold.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
All right.
It was almost Christmas time.
Hell yeah.
They were stood in another line, trying to buy that last gift or two. Already in the Christmas mood, and standing right in front of me was a little boy waiting anxiously.
Pick it up.
Pacing around like little boys do, and in his hands he held a pair of shoes. All his clothes were worn and old. He was dirty from head to toe. When it came his time to pay, I'll never forget what I heard him say.
Hit us with that solo, Bobby.
I swear I wanna buy these shoes.
hell yeah.
Tell my mama, please. It's Christmas Eve and these shoes are just her size. Could you hurry, sir? Daddy says there's not much time. You see, she's been sick for quite a while, and I know the shoes would make her smile, and I want her to look beautiful if Mama meets Jesus tonight. We're counting pennies for what seemed like
This
amazing.
This rules.
Yes.
Complete and total redemption of the Christmas shoes.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes. In addition to being the child soloist of that song, Robert has grown up as a very accomplished musician and singer-songwriter in his own right. So, he leaves a beautiful legacy there by honoring his past and transcribing it for a new generation. Transposing? Yeah, maybe that's the word.
Yeah, sure.
Well, I think, Robert, you should have a full band do that, throw some horns on there. I think you got a hit in the making.
Yeah. I mean, if there's anything that people love, it's a ska remix. So
absolutely. That's what the streets demand these days.
Yeah.
Thank you, Robert.
Gentlemen of the Magnified Pod. It's your old pal Joel down in Ithaca, New York. I'm calling for a lot of reasons, mainly because I haven't called for a long time, and I want you to know that I've been listening and enjoying the episodes very much. More on that later.
Buddy.
Today is a very exciting day.
Ooh.
It's the release date for the digital online and official release of Major Awards, a tribute to Starflyer 59. I happen to contribute a track under the name Angus McKinney. Jesse Sprinkle played drums on it.
Oh, shit.
And I think it's the coolest recording I've made to date. But cooler than me, without a doubt, are the other contributors to this tribute. Like highlights for this podcast include Huntingtons, Squad 5-0, and my personal friend Jesse Sprinkle, who did a cover of Blue Collar Love that is killer.
Cool.
Let's see, Adios Comida did a really cool track, and Pacifico's track is amazing. There are really cool versions of Starflyer songs all across this release. It's a 35-track digital release on Bandcamp. I'll send you the link, and you can share it if you want. I would like to say thank you for covering all those fun horror and goth bands.
Yeah.
During the month of October, during the Magnified Pod.
There you go.
We had a great time listening. Savior Machine was one of my favorite bands, and I think that the work that Eric Clayton's doing with Eric Clayton and the Nine right now is every bit as good as what Savior Machine was in the 90s. Right. It's slow, it's dirge-like, it's got like the vibe, and really great musicianship. His brother's still playing guitar with him. Rackets and Drapes, like the thinnest on talent, highest on like stage show band I've ever seen in my life. They would, exactly as you guys described it, they would take the stage, and I would be into it for like 2 songs. I was like, whenever they were playing a show I was at, I was like, all right, well, I'll enjoy them for 2 songs. But after that, they literally all sounded exactly the same. And, I couldn't believe they had so much traction. As a person in a band at the time myself, I will have to admit I had a little bit of envy and anger that these guys were getting so much attention and I could barely book a gig. But,
sure.
Such is life. I've been doing that for 40 years now. And then Scattered Few, another one of my favorite bands. That one's more from like the late 90s. The Shadows LP had a huge presence in my life. When I saw Rackets and Drapes and Savior Machine in Chicago at the Wonderland Ballroom at a Halloween show, was incredible. There was another band playing with them called Wedding Party. I don't know if you've covered them yet. I haven't gone through all the Magnified Pod from previous years. They were really cool, like really good songs. And they were super cool to us kids after the shows and stuff. Like they'd hang out with us and talk to us. I mean, I was going through major loss that year. And, so goth music was, speaking for me. I thought that was gonna be like the rest of my life, just painting my face white and being dark and shit. I still love those songs. That stuff's a little bit harder to find, but they're really cool. Back to Spyglass Blue, their final album, you guys mentioned it a little bit, but I felt like that final EP that you guys actually covered was a major departure for them. Up till that point, it was more like classic goth, like Bowie and stuff. Right. But they were doing like the early 2000s indie rock Joy Division revival thing that, was so successful. And I was really listening to that a lot at the time as well. And I was surprised it didn't get more traction. Alan Aguirre, you alluded to it, super weird guy. When I saw him at Cornerstone in like 97, 98, maybe 99, something like that, Scattered Few did a reunion set, sweaty afternoon. I can still see his face in my mind because I remember thinking, man, this guy seems dangerous. And I thought he seemed dangerous just because he was so fucking punk rock and so intense, and like he didn't care what like the establishment thought. Having talked to him on Facebook and stuff a little bit more over the last few years, I viewed him as a different kind of dangerous. Now, with such a devotion to Israel over like morals and anything else that he claims to be devoted to, I find it to be a little bit upsetting. But his work is still cool, very cool. I think that about does it. Thanks so much for all the work you guys have been doing. I've really been loving it, and I hope to talk to you guys again soon. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Love you.
Thanks, buddy.
Joel Kircher, always wonderful to hear Joel's mellifluous tones, just even when they're wishing us Merry Christmas 4 months later.
Just rich, dulcet.
Love it.
His voice is just a strong cup of coffee.
It's like a cowboy taking you out on the range.
That's right.
This Starflyer tribute is news to me.
It wouldn't have been if we read this email.
Well, I know. Sorry about that. It came out in December, I guess. But this rules. So it's pacifico.bandcamp.com. Go check out Major Awards, a tribute to Starflyer 59. Should we hear some of his track? It's Angus McKinney, track 17, looks like there, First Heart Attack.
Listen, I'll tell you.
There we go.
Story, lines you never get back. This is a reason to worry. The trials that make you a man. It's when I have my first heart attack, and I can't even breathe. Tell the truth, I know you wouldn't lie. I'm on my last beat. So listen,
cool.
I'll tell you a story.
That rules.
Thanks, Joel.
Thanks
for sharing that.
Yeah.
That's cool. What a cool thing to be a part of.
Super cool. So yeah, it looks like it was led by Pacifico, who I believe has come up on the pod at some point. Pacifico led by Matthew Schwartz, right? Is that his name? I believe it's his name.
Yeah.
I know they sort of had collaborated with some various Martin Brothers projects over the years, but it looks like they led this 35 song digital tribute to them. So Leper's on there. Hell yeah, Leper's on there. My dudes. A band called Bonhoeffer, which sounds like something we should know about. This rules. I gotta dive into this.
Band called Whispers and Fuzz sounds also like
right up my alley.
Right up your alley.
This is cool. I gotta check this thing out. So well done, Joel. Cool to be a part of that. Looks like there's more from Joel as well.
Gentlemen of the Magnified Pod. This is Joel down in Ithaca, coming to you from work right now. Shh, don't tell the boss. Anyway.
I would never.
I hadn't listened to both episodes about Craig's brother when I made that last message. I had heard the first one and enjoyed the music and then kind of like decided to take a little listen to Craig's brother, but having listened to that episode with the album, the full review, and then listening to the album myself, I consider myself a newly minted Craig's brother near fanatic.
Ooh,
Not
shit.
quite fanatic, but enjoyer. They're joining Outer Circle and Bad Religion on my list of pop punk bands that I'm actually interested in hearing more of.
Ooh, hell yeah. Cool.
And before that, of course, there was the interview with Jenny, I'm assuming her name was. But the message and the information from the book were both very, very timely and vital to me. Racial issues were probably a big part of the catalyst for my exit from the evangelical church.
Mm-hmm.
Just the cavalier nature with which people tended to treat the concerns of people of color.
Yep.
Had been internalized by me, to be quite honest with you. And I had an awakening when I started seeing people being killed in the middle of the street on my Facebook feed over and over and over again. And to see that attitude continue and to be accused of suddenly taking up a cause to be cool was not only hurtful, but kind of traumatizing. And, I know I'm not alone, and it's clear that there's a whole bunch of deconstruction happening, and everybody's going through a lot of the same things. But, thanks for making that podcast. Thanks for writing that book, Jenny. And thanks for just sticking to your guns so that, everybody else can continue to follow and share and understand better. Thanks for letting me add to my other message, because this stuff felt important to me. And I wanted to thank you again for all that you do. Also for reviewing the David Bazan Christmas album. I don't think I have a lot to add to what you guys said. I love it. I love it. I love it. But of course I love everything that comes out of his mouth pretty much. So here we are. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Be safe. Have fun. Unless this is more rock and roll next year.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, thank you so much. Z talking about the Jenny Booth Potter book, Doing Nothing is No Longer an Option, One Woman's Journey into Everyday Anti-Racism.
Hey,
published on InterVarsity Press. Available at Amazon.com and all of your favorite local bookstores that carry such titles.
Yes, indeed. And hey, if you've picked it up and you want to leave a review, say on Amazon or Goodreads, that helps as well. Yes, thank you for PRing there, so I didn't have to, but I was planning to. Yeah, thanks, Joel. I will share that with her. I'm sure that will mean a lot to her. Yeah, check out the book. Check out the episode we did with her when the book came out-ish, I want to say. I don't even remember now. I'm guessing it was in the fall sometime.
It was around then.
Yeah.
We still, the book was released. We had the books.
Right. The book was the book came out in October. So it's still fresh. Go check it out. But we appreciate that, Joel. Thanks, buddy.
It's funny that he's talking about the, him being a newly minted Craig's Brother fan. And I just got my Craig's Brother vinyl recently.
Hell yeah.
Vinyl, man. It's taken a while. It's been a while since I ordered that. And
Graveyard Club album.
Yeah. Yep.
People are receiving those after we saw their record release show last summer. So.
Yep. We got ourselves an email from Christopher Enns.
Yes.
He said, "Hi, Magpie. Just listened to your latest episode. 100% agree that the Viva Voce was number one, and I'd follow that with the Starflyer song."
All right.
He said, not surprised you haven't heard of Viva Voce. They were very short-lived in the Christian scene in the late 90s. I stumbled onto their Hooray for Now album in 1998 at a Christian bookstore. It is an awesome, fast-paced, shoegaze psychedelic album with female vocals and wicked dueling guitars. It was also quite Christian in content, very God-focused. It was a real special album for me. You know, nowadays we think like how inundated we are with music and how everything being on streaming, it's almost impossible to keep up with stuff. But in such a niche community and everything being available, either getting it on a comp or at a Christian bookstore, there's pretty much like you're either getting it at a Christian bookstore or at a festival, and there weren't really a lot of other places to go. Right. And so it's surprising to me that it took us until essentially this season.
Yeah. I don't know.
To even hear them.
They were a real revelation for us. But what I've heard of really liked, and he goes on to talk about, kind of moving away from the Christian world and the shoegazy world and sort of more traditional sort of indie rock, I guess, but talking about their experiences in both the Christian world and the secular world not being great ones within the music industry, and referencing that in their albums, including the record Get Your Blood Sucked Out. So we might get some Viva Voce maybe. Chris Enns had also emailed us before to share some Rel's Forest thoughts, and he mentioned Velour 100 in that one and his pushing for them, who are another act who we may still get to this season. We'll see, but Chris has his finger on the pulse of the shoegazy indie stuff we've been covering this season. So thanks for sharing that intel, Chris.
And another dude from BC in Canada, another Canadian listener.
Stay warm up there, eh?
We got
Yasin.
He says, I don't have much to say except that I'm going to take John saying, let's make this a Christmas tradition as a guarantee of at least 4 more seasons of this thing. I think he's referring to the Happy Christmas compilation reviews that we do. So I'm not opposed to that.
No, I say we keep it up.
Let's keep it going.
Gets into some thoughts on Nash Pop as well in there.
Yeah.
Nitty gritty.
I know. Yeah. He had mentioned that like in other parts of the country, it's used in like kind of like a derogatory term, a derogatory sense. But like, up here, like country is not nearly as big of a thing as it is in the South or in Texas. So that sort of term is kind of, it's like, oh, that makes sense to me, that term. But I was not using it in a way to, diminish anybody's particular style or sound or anything. But this is an email that we got at the end of December that I feel pretty bad about not having responded to, because it was so thoughtful and pointed. It was like essentially directed to me but anyway, he says, I couldn't resist the urge to message you after I recently became familiarized with your show via an interview with both of you that I heard on that Exvangelical show, which I also relatively recently became familiarized with. I haven't dove too far into the podcast sphere until the pandemic hit. Over the last couple of years, I've been seeking out a lot of content from former evangelicals, especially if it pertains at all to the Christian music scene, especially if it specifically pertains to the 90s Christian music scene. When I encountered that episode of Exvangelical, I knew I had to check out your show. The Exvangelical interview kind of blew my mind, Andrew. You and I appear to have had rather similar experiences. I was also raised in the Evangelical Covenant Church and was quite Christian myself. I was also urged to apply to North Park, but ultimately decided against it. I was also completely obsessed with all things tooth and nail, like really, really obsessed. I also no longer identify with Christianity. I'm very much deconverted. It took me until about age 23 or so until I realized that ship had sailed. I'm 41 now, so it's been a while. I have to mention at least one other thing. I feel a bit odd mentioning it here, but here goes. You very unapologetically and bravely, I might say, went into the issue of self-pleasure in that ex-evangelical interview and how utterly racked with guilt evangelical kids can feel about it. Let me just say yes, yes, yes. And in every way, yes, holy fuck. I'm sure there's much more content out there pertaining to this issue. But I feel like a Dave Bazan interview is maybe the only other time I've heard it explicitly mentioned. And it's such an important topic. I mean, I can't even tell you that shit fucked me up when I was a kid. And if I'm being honest, it's one of the biggest sources of any ongoing resentment I still feel toward my upbringing. It's nice to not feel alone, specifically as it pertains to that issue. My heart seriously breaks for any kid out there who is going through it now. And he also goes on to mention that he is also in the Twin Cities. So I'm hoping to, be nice to connect with this dude because he sounds like
Adam,
one.
If you had ended up going to North Park, I mean, you probably would have co-hosted the show with us.
I know, right?
Very much in our circles.
I think we're all familiar because we've invoked it a number of times on the pod. Christian Nightmares. We talk about them quite a bit on the pod. It's Instagram page of just like super cringy or embarrassing or sad or unfortunate, just a variety of Christian content that's a bummer. So like here's a sign: sickness with God is better than health without God. Yikes. That's quite a perspective. There was a post recently, what looks like a fairly young dude going on about like, he's praying, saying to like, talking about lust, and he's like, to the person out there, to this person who is struggling with, looking at this video and then doing that thing. I just want to say this to this person out there and, set this person free from lust and whatever, so I commented on this and I said, quote, this person, come on, dude, it's you.
Yeah.
When I was a Christian, I was this guy. I was filled with an unbearable amount of guilt and shame. And at almost 40, I'm still dealing with the fallout from the self-hatred. It's such a shitty way to live. And my heart breaks for this dude. And I hope he can figure it out because it's no way to live. And a bunch of people responded, were like, yeah, I'm around the same age. Also former Christian, also still like dealing with sort of the fallout of that as well. And it's not an uncommon thing. And like, first off, this kid didn't come up with this on his own. Like he didn't think like this was stuff that was told to him.
Right.
And I feel bad for that kid. Yeah. Now he's sort of perpetuating what he heard on this platform and sort of reinforcing this sort of negativity around normal sexuality. And that's not good. But like, I see that as a different kind of thing than like, is making prayer TikToks cringy? Sure. Yeah, it is. It's pretty cringy to film yourself praying in like this very earnest way and then sharing it.
Kind of the opposite of going into a dark closet or whatever.
Think that's kind of like rereading Adam's email and thinking about that there's a lot of people out there our age who, have that. And, that sort of reinforced self-hatred that came along with it. So I will never not talk about jerking off because it's sort of my way of reclaiming what I felt like was the biggest taboo in the world when I was a kid.
Yeah, totally. Well, and clearly when you have been vulnerable enough to share these things, it has resonated with folks. And thank you, Adam, for sharing all that as well. He goes on to mention that he was thinking about potentially starting his own podcast or like a sort of mini limited series thing, which I very much encourage you to do, Adam. There are, easy ways to kind of put out that kind of content into the world now. So I would recommend doing it. He also mentioned Pocanatcha being his favorite MXPX album because he appreciates the endearingness of how shitty it sounds, which resonates for me.
Yes.
I got no problem with somebody claiming Pocanatcha is their favorite MXPX record. So thank you, Adam. Yeah, hopefully you're not like, well, what the hell have you been doing for several months sitting on this thing? So we really appreciate hearing from you.
Yeah, I know. Feel kind of like the worst for
he understands.
Yeah. Now we got to get into a very interesting email. I said it was interesting. We have an email from Eva, one of those two. And she says, my name is Eva. I'm 17. And I think it's really cool that you guys have a whole podcast about objectively awful Christian punk of the 90s.
Well, I don't know if we can say it quite that way, but yes, thank you.
And she says, because that's how I came into this world. My dad's name is JJ, and he grew up with, speaking of Pocanatcha, and he grew up with Mike Herrera of MXPX and started it with him working as a sound engineer. He eventually went to do Warped Tour, and I believe he was very close with the people that started Tooth and Nail. He also helped eventually produce Enema of the State.
Yeah.
But as the premise of your podcast so clearly predicts, he is now a devout Christian and employed at a church in DC, which I've always found to be ironic considering his background. My mother, as it turns out, is the sister of one of the members of Goaty Hook, and the rest of the members have essentially been my uncles for the entirety of my upbringing. She met my dad through their involvement with MXPX, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
And
many connections.
And she said, I thought it was funny to see you guys did an episode with Joel Bell, as he's a family friend, but also my mom's childhood fling all the way up until she broke off her engagement and married my dad.
Well, there you go.
You know, this is just like,
this is amazing.
This is like wild shit. And then she like posts, she sends like some photos of JJ with Mike.
Right. Christian of Goaty Hook is her uncle.
Yeah.
There's like so many connections.
I know.
Ava is a Christian punk rock royalty, as much as she may object to that association.
Get her on the pod. I mean,
she's like, where's my share of nepotism?
I know, right? Yeah. What is the benefit of being a Nepo baby if you're like, ugh, it's all terrible.
Yeah. Pretty funny, but some great pictures of Mike and JJ. Mike bleached hair, and
this is
great.
Yeah, this is definitely some like this feels like Life in General era Mike.
Yeah, for sure.
With that slicked back, super white kind of blonde hair.
Just handsome as hell.
As hell.
Well, you've heard of JJ's song. This is JJ's daughter, people. And we got a MagPod exclusive with her.
That's true.
Dish in the dirt over here. We won't read this whole email.
No, we're not going to read the whole thing.
But thank you so much, Eva. That rules. It makes me feel a little weird that there's teenagers listening to this. I should probably
maybe I shouldn't have led into that email but talking about jerking off.
Whatever. I mean, 17, it's the perfect time to be dealing with such things, right?
I mean, let's be real. No, I'm not.
I don't know, we got nothing else to say in that matter. But thank you, Eva. We appreciate you listening.
Yes, thank you so much.
Got other photos of your family's involvement in music we care about. Let us know.
Yes, we have Emma. She says the subject is I'm several years late. Episode 28, sexual purity.
Yeah, about 130 episodes later.
I recently started listening to you guys when I got a new job and had 8 hours a day to sit in front of a computer doing mindless drone work. You definitely helped pass the hours. I just made it to the Tumble Down episodes. Wow. Yeah. That is a while ago. And the first one, you talked a lot about the sexual purity culture we all grew up in. I just had to talk
these messages.
I know, right? Are we? I think the reality is, John, is that you, me, we are too horny.
A little too horny.
Too horny. The horny puppies out there. He's oh no, these John and Andrew, they are too horny. She says, I just had to toss in my 4 years late opinion. I never personally had a purity ring or signed a pledge, but when I was 12 or 13, our small Pentecostal church pulled the youth group up front to publicly swear in front of the congregation that we would remain pure until marriage. And I was happily and willingly along for the ride.
Woof.
Without going into my whole life story, my experiences at that church, complete with the Spirit coming down and folks speaking in tongues and twitching in the aisles, formed a strong base for my faith. I personally felt God's touch, and that knowledge stuck with me. As time passed, my family life fell apart. I leaned heavily into God in the church, as that was the only thing in my life that wasn't drastically changing. I wound up going by myself at 15 years old to any church I could walk to. And what that led to was my being exposed to the extraordinary variety of churches we have in America and realizing I don't have to agree with everything that a church I'm attending is teaching, which probably led to my not being entirely drug under in the purity culture of the evangelical church. So now fast forward 20 some years to my having 3 daughters who I'm trying to raise in my faith, but not at all in the purity culture. My girls are in high school and middle school, and we've been talking about sex, consent, about the autonomy since they were little. We've had conversations with them explaining that there are a lot of good reasons to wait to have sex. It is a big deal emotionally and physically, and absolutely can have long-term consequences in the form of STIs or pregnancy. We've also told them that sex feels good and there's nothing wrong with masturbation or wanting to have sex. So they are prepared if and when they choose to sleep with someone. We've had conversations about safer sex practices, birth control, condoms, oral sex, and other things. I've had too many female friends who were so traumatized by the extraordinary and really damn weird in retrospect focus on maintaining virginity as if it were the be all end all of our unmarried existence, that they have completely left their faith. As someone who is still a practicing Christian and derives personal comfort from my beliefs, that breaks my heart, and I dearly hope that my kids don't have the same trauma as they are quickly approaching their adult lives. Footnote on purity culture. For me, this is not just including sexual purity, that is the largest tenet, but also the extreme focus on having nothing in your life that isn't godly. Music had to be God-centered, TV and movies had to be God-centered, friends better be good Christian friends, and otherwise the devil will tempt you away from God. Purity culture puts an unbiblical amount of focus on having everything need to be singularly focused on God. I genuinely think this focus over the last 30-ish years is what is allowing so many of the anti-abortion laws to be passed now. Christian folks have had it pounded into them since they were children that every single thing needs to be fully God-focused, and that anyone who believes differently has been directly sent by Satan to corrupt.
Yeah.
I really, really appreciate this, that one of the things that we've tried to do on this, even though that John and I agree on a lot of things, like we want to bring these sort of different perspectives. Like we're not doing these episodes like sitting here only talking about that the church is terrible and garbage. We focus on talking about the problematic nature of the evangelical church because that's what a lot of this subculture hinged on. But like, I'm definitely not opposed to somebody having a faith that is meaningful to them and that they still adhere to and find value in. But I also love the blending of like recognizing the problematic focus on purity and trying to teach kids a balance of like, hey, here is what this is. Let's not shield them from it. Masturbation isn't bad. You can't get an STI. Pregnancy is a thing. Be safe. Like I think that is blending those worlds. And if you use your faith as a way to inform your values in that area, then, that's great. I'm all for that.
Totally. Yeah. Thank you so much, Emma. I resonate with a lot of this too, even though, as we've kind of been saying, this was, Andrew, more sort of your story growing up than mine, but the piece of it as far as still also being, someone who's trying to practice their Christian faith and raising kids and trying to do it in a way that will not traumatize them, and all the stuff that you're talking to your kid about autonomy and consent are the same kinds of conversations we're trying to have with our kids, and trying to impart a faith practice onto them that we hope will be useful for their lives and not traumatic. So I certainly resonate with a lot of what you're talking about, and what you're saying about, I get a lot of people coming out of that tradition and wanting to leave it entirely, but sort of what you're naming about realizing the wide variety of church experiences that there are, and finding one that worked for you. I'm glad to hear that. So yeah, thank you so much. I hope you listen to 130 more episodes of us for 8 hours a day. But yeah, it really meant a lot to hear this very thoughtful response.
And the thing that I think that is important that we just sort of breezed by in this one sentence is that she said that she realized that you don't have to agree with everything that a church is teaching. And I didn't know that.
Yeah, totally.
And I think that is something that explicitly needs to be taught.
Yeah.
Because what she's talking about is critical thinking.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
questioning. And that is not something that is explicitly taught in church or even necessarily in school, unless you are in very niche kind of things like debate, or if you happen to have like a philosophy class or something. But that sort of way of approaching is like asking like, why should I believe this, or why does this person believe this, or how is this different than what this other church said that I attended last week, and how do they both come to those conclusions? And I mean, I wish I had done that, and maybe I wouldn't have as much anxiety and depression as I do, that I'm so concerned about doing the wrong thing or whatever. But that's
totally,
I think one of the most dangerous things you can do, I want to say this without sounding like an asshole, but I think you'll get what I'm saying. Like letting your kid just experiment with a belief system and letting it go unchecked. It's kind of the way I feel about like just letting your kid go on the internet unsupervised, because it can very quickly devolve into something that you're not like. What I believed was not something my parents taught me. Like it was stuff that it was picked up at different youth groups and different festivals and other conversations I had with other people that I knew. And that sort of stuff, like, and I didn't know that like I could question or challenge that. And it's important to have those, like you're saying, those conversations with your kids, because I think some of that stuff needs to be stated explicitly. And I wish more parents were as intentional as you and Jenny and Emma appears to be.
Well, yeah, thanks. We are trying, and there are so many things to navigate, and my kids are not teenagers and are not navigating social media and all of that. That will be a whole other ball game for us to try and deal with. But yeah, I think you really named this tension of critical thinking being the primary reason behind evangelical culture's like sort of stranglehold on people's beliefs, like it blinding their ability to think beyond that experience, because it is so ingrained in people that to sort of question that is to sort of question God, and just how damaging that is to humans and to church culture and to like society, as she's naming, like a lot of people who grew up like that, thinking that there was only one way are now legislators who are making decisions for us, and that black and white thinking is affecting all of us in a awful way. So if your church experience doesn't include a critical thinking encouragement piece, I don't think it's the kind of church experience that will help you be a whole and healthy human. And I think that's something a lot of us are learning now. And it's a scary time for lack of critical thinking in any number of areas of our sort of society. So the more that we can do to teach that and to figure out, I think I've shared this memory before, but in my experience growing up in a evangelical covenant high school, I've mentioned this Bible teacher I had who was great, who really kind of expanded my mind. And I don't even remember what this was, but we had like written papers, and he asked a few students to share their papers in chapel. And mine was basically about recognizing that there are lots of different kinds of faith experiences in the world. And it's sort of, should be the job of Christians to understand that there are like multiple paths, and to like honor others' experiences, because that's what a world of pluralism means. And I was pulled aside by like a teacher who I'd never had, who was like really kind of getting in my face and saying, you're a leader, and it's irresponsible of you to have told all these kids what you just said. They're going to hell if they don't believe in God, and you've put that at risk now by saying the stuff you said today. Just feeling in my head, even as a teenager, that like, oh, this guy's like view of the world is like so narrow. And not only is that like pissing me off as a teenager for you like saying this to me, but like, oh, you are like damaged and in need of therapy, and you're inflicting this damaged view on other people, and it makes me sad and it makes me mad. So anyway, just a little anecdote there, unpacking some religious trauma.
Yeah. Wow. That is a lot to say to a young person
Sure
as an adult. That's a
kind
of weird and fucked up thing to say. It's like
totally
putting somebody else's soul like in your hands is like you're responsible for that. I think that says more about them than it does about you, that they like that.
For sure.
That they think that these people should not have other views or ideas or experiences
like
in
even
the world
presented, right?
So
that's what made me think of it with the critical thinking thing. Is like, oh, you're so afraid to even hear that like other things exist. And I'm grateful that I was like 16 or 17 and not like 12 or 13 when that happened, because I had the wherewithal to be like this fucking idiot, as opposed to like, oh, I guess I'm wrong, So anyway,
right.
Thank you, Emma.
Yes. And sorry that you had that douchebag say that kind of shit. It's fucking weird.
Not the best.
All right, we have some voicemails. John, we have a voicemail line.
What is it again?
872-762-4763, 8727 Magpod. Got our boy Brock. I think he's got something else to say about Viva Voce.
Hey, it's your boy Brock Dittis in Salem, Oregon. I just wanted to let you know that, Viva Voce had some time here on the West Coast in Portland. And
hell yeah.
I think personally their 2007 album, Lovers Lead the Way, is their absolute best. So if there's anything that you cover on the pod, I would say cover that. Pretty great. Magpod for life.
Thanks, Brock. You got Brock and Chris recommending different albums by Viva Voce that we need to discuss. So,
yes,
to duke it out.
Ooh, got a little more.
Hey, it's Brock in Salem once more, and just wanted to correct myself. 2003 is when Lovers Lead the Way was released on Sounds Familiar. It looks like it got a re-release in 2005 and then released as a double album with another record in 2007. But that's where I got confused.
Gotcha.
So, with that said, Magpod for life.
It's that attention to detail we love to hear.
Exactly. Or as Google says, Magpod.
They were just trying to do the horny pubs
the horny pub.
Magpod for life.
Magpod for life.
No, I saw the Super Mario Brothers movie with my kids this afternoon. And it sounds like something Mario might say.
John, I might want to get a little bit of a review or something here coming up.
Mario Corner.
Yeah, a little Mario Corner.
It's a go.
It's a you.
2, 3, 2, 1.
Is this the Hat Man?
1, 2, 3, 2, 1.
What's coming up?
2, 3.
There we go. Oh, Phantom Cackler. At first I was like, oh, this is a mistake. And I was like, oh, it's spooky. And I was like, wait, I know it's coming. I could hear him like holding in a laugh.
Yeah. I don't understand. But the Phantom Cackler, if he's anything if not innovative.
That's right. He's messing around with the numbers now. Is he sending us a message with these 2, 3, 1? We'll decipher it.
Yeah, we'll get to the bottom of this. Oh, Matt Jones.
Hey
guys, it's your boy Matt Jones calling from Mount Vernon, Ohio. So glad that you guys are back. It feels like you've been gone forever.
I know.
Anyway, so happy to hear these last couple episodes, especially the Fantasy League. I went ahead and downloaded their album and absolutely love it, beginning to end.
Hell yeah.
So can't wait to see what this next season brings. Hope you guys are doing well. Magpod for life.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks,
That
Matt.
time on Google Translate, we got a Nagpot for life. Nagpot for life.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, Fantasy League. Thank you for picking that up. Everybody should do so.
Yes, they should. Everybody loves little Fantasy League. Get some pop bangers.
Some more Foley work here. What's coming?
A microwave?
Ooh. It's so good.
It sounded like a microwave. Like it was.
I thought it was maybe like a cashier's scanner at first, but he's got access to all kinds of equipment. We don't know. We should say those 2 voicemails from him were separated by like 2 months, so they were spaced out well.
Yes, the one with all the numbers was in January, and this other one was just sent this Monday.
Yeah, thank you, Phantom Cackler. You knew what to do.
He knows the deal.
Hey, this is Jeremy Ongold from the Rumors Are True podcast. Really stoked on your Joe Christmas episode. I really dug it. I like what you guys do. I really like your opinions, and I'm definitely on the same page. So, wanted to show my support. Think you guys are awesome. Keep at it. Talk to you soon.
Hell yeah. Thank you, Jeremy. Shout out to the Rumors Are True podcast. His pod, I believe he had on somebody recently that was exciting. I'm sorry. This is a terrible plug for his pod, but
many people are saying that he did a thing. And...
he did do a thing. I want to say it was an interview with somebody from Morel's Forest.
Okay.
So yes, check out the Rumors Are True. I know he's doing some cool interviews with folks and sharing thoughts on similar Morel's Forest. That's who it was, right? Yeah, Sean Johnson, who has shouted out our pod. He had emailed us before, said he was listening.
The gymnast.
Exactly.
Sean Johnson, the gymnast.
The beautiful fuzzy guitarist from Mofo, of course.
Okay.
Shares some thoughts over on the Rumors Are True cast with Jeremy, including we discussed the famous question, "Where is Sid?" 5 exclamation points. So check that out.
I don't think Sydney wants to be found.
No, she doesn't. I haven't listened to that interview yet, but I'm guessing the answer is we don't know and no one will know. which is kind of how I want it. Having said that, if you want to do MagPod exclusive, let us know, Sydney.
Yeah, many people are saying that Sydney Rents is the Phantom Cackler.
Ooh, I like this. This is a good twist.
Just start this rumor.
Mm-hmm. This feels like it's like Scream or something. Like, hello, Sydney.
Yes.
I'm the cackler the whole time. Anyway, thank you, Jeremy. Check out The Rumors Are True.
Hey, speaking of Joe Christmas and rumors, I heard a rumor that that Joe Christmas is releasing MagPod based music.
Well, yes, we have it on good authority, i.e. from Russell directly himself, who has listened to the Joe Christmas episodes and enjoyed them, and said that he wrote a song called Khaki Boner in honor of us after listening to our last episode. And I told him, the people demand to hear Khaki Boner. It's not enough to know that you've written the song, Russell. Let's hear a full band rendition of Khaki Boner, please. I think that's the only appropriate.
I'm trying to remember. Step. I remember saying it. I can't remember the context other than it was like, maybe we were talking about like some middle school dance.
Yes, that's what it was. I don't remember why we were talking about. I think, because Jason was saying like, this is the kind of song that plays at an awkward middle school dance because it's kind of like slow enough where you're sort of like swaying with a girl. And you were further illustrating that scenario and saying, perhaps you got a khaki boner.
Yeah. Yeah, lots of discussion this episode about boners and genitals and self-pleasure, which is very much my wheelhouse.
Yeah, it's not out of the norm for us.
No,
we go a couple episodes without a guest and we're like back to like, hey, dicks.
Boners. Sweet.
But yes, along with sharing
even not on the mic, we were talking about horse cock.
We were. It's like, full disclosure.
You ever any of these fuckers?
It's because there's a horse on Andrew's wine bottle, and anyway, back to Russell
or donkey dick.
No, they never say that. Russell shared along with that beautiful message that he had a band called The Long Defeat after Joe Christmas, and shared the song Progress Report with us by The Long Defeat, and that was awesome. I need to do a deeper dive on The Long Defeat, but yes, thank you, Russell, for that. I expect Khaki Boner to make its way in MP3 form onto the pod shortly.
Yes. Some might say that a song called Khaki Boner, written by Russell from Joe Christmas, that would be a win. Mm-hmm. So I think it's time for us to jump into that winner's circle.
Nailed it. I don't even know why I attempt to transition. They've called me the king of transitions before, but the crown is yours, my friend. So
I don't know. Well,
nobody's called me that.
No one said that, but I think it is fair. You do have some solid transitions.
Well, back at you, buddy.
Yeah.
And speaking of back at you, I don't know. I got nothing actually.
Well, what's back?
Winners and losers, though. What's back?
Back?
Let me know.
Next month, John. May 30th.
Yes.
Season 3 of I Think You Should Leave.
Hell yeah. I think the podcast might turn into an I Think You Should Leave recap podcast actually in late May.
I know. Yeah, we're just gonna be doing episode watches, and
the Patreon might just turn into exclusively that. So buckle up.
I know. I Think You Should Pod will be the next season.
But I'm sure that exists, right? But it should exist on our feed as well.
Yeah, nothing but Tim Robinson based content. Watch the Detroiters.
Oh man, I still got to catch up on that. I've really not seen very much of it.
His stuff from SNL. Yes. Anyway, so that's something that to me is going to be a win.
That's a major win.
Major win. We've been waiting for far too long, if you ask me. But
yeah.
What else you got? What do you got as a winner over there?
Well, oh baby, it's been a while since we've done a segment here. We've been doing these interviews and special episodes, but I got a long list of winners here. And mainly I'm using this uncreatively as I often do to just sort of highlight concerts and albums I'm enjoying. But I got to hit some of these here because major win, Boy Genius.
Sure. Yes.
The record finally out.
Yep.
Texted you. Picked up that vinyl variant today. Throwing that on, loving it. I've got a few contenders for potential album of the year thus far, this early into the year. But that's, man, I don't know. Phoebe Bridgers was number one on my list on the show one year. Lucy Dacus, my number one on the next year. Boy Genius, possibly my number one this year.
Yeah.
So very pumped for that record. Seeing them in June, very pumped for that. Loving that record. Hold Steady, another band.
Yeah.
One of my favorite bands ever. Put out a new record. I've sort of, I would say not the quality, but how much I am into their records has sort of ebbed and flowed over the years. Really, really love those first few records for sure. But this new one, really into it. And that's good news because I'm seeing them in July with Dillinger 4 and Mountain Goats, which is quite a lineup. Very excited for that. Liking the new record, excited for that show. But I told you this before too. I haven't talked about it on the pod, but current frontrunner for record of the year, although it may be surpassed by Boy Genius, is the band Young Fathers, which is like the Scottish hip hop group. I think they're Scottish.
Yeah, I saw you post something about that on maybe in your stories or on
I think we texted
Facebook
about it
or something.
too.
I can't remember.
I think I texted it to you and Scott and Matt, and Scott said I'll listen to it or something. But it's really cool. I found out about Young Fathers a while ago when Massive Attack was touring, and they opened for them, and they did a song together on Massive Attack's last record, which was an EP, which was awesome. But they're sort of this hip hop slash pop indie trio. I think they're Scottish, or at least in the UK, and they just are doing some really cool, eclectic sounding things on this new album. It really goes into a lot of different places. It feels sort of like global. It's all very propulsive and fun and weird and interesting. So Young Fathers, really digging that. Not doing any kind of tour as far as I'm aware of, but I really hope they do. Another band I've told you about, Pigs, yes, aka Pigs Times 7. A band I've really been digging. They're hardcore, and they put out a record this year I've been loving. They're from the UK as well, and I was like, man, I really hope they play in the States. And they played a show in Chicago, but it was while I was in California, so I missed them. It was at Sleeping Village, which is a tiny venue. I've seen Bazan there and other folks here, Graveyard Club as well. Great little venue. Would have really liked to have seen Pigs there. But if folks want a kind of hard hitting, heavy, they're not really hardcore. They're more sludgy. I mean, what do you call the sort of there's a term for this sort of haze of weed, doom metal,
stoner metal.
It's kind of, it's kind of stoner metal. It's just real heavy vibes. But I
guess I would either sludge or stoner.
It's kind of sludgy, but it's really, really cool. I dig it a lot. So check that out if you are so inclined. One more record I will mention, which I already mentioned on the last episode because we were talking about Khaki Boner, is the Broke Downs, a favorite local punk band of mine. They put out a new record called Maximum Khaki this year, and I saw them. I saw their record release show for that a couple months ago, and it was awesome. Really into that band and that record. So check the Broke Downs out. They're kind of they remind me of Dillinger 4 a lot, who are one of my favorite punk bands, and they're kind of, that sort of harder hitting end of the pop punk spectrum. So those are all winners for me. I'm going to do a quick rundown also of just other shows coming up that are wins for me that I'm excited about. I mean, first and foremost, Andrew, I don't believe we've talked about this on the pod yet, but you and I have tickets to the Goaty Hook reunion show.
We sure do.
In September in Northern Virginia. So Magpie Nation, those, on the East Coast and nearby, come out for this. I'm so pumped for this. We are flying out there. This is the first time, Magpod as a team, we've like traveled to a destination other than Minnesota or Illinois.
I know, right?
For something. So incredibly pumped for that. We will not be at Furnace Fest, sadly, where most of you probably will be if you are going anywhere. So this is kind of our chance to see the dudes and see them live. So very excited for that. A few more. Charlie Bliss, a band we talked about on the pod a fair amount. Seeing them later this month at Subterranean, which is a nice small venue in Chicago. Excited for that. Our dudes, Much the Same, headlining Beer Canned Fest, which is at Blue Island Beer Company in the Chicago burbs. They're playing with other great Chicago punk bands like Take the Reins and Won't Stay Dead. So excited for that. Here's what I don't know if I've talked to you about, but I'm seeing the Batman in concert, which is the Chicago Philharmonic is doing the score to the movie The Batman live with the screening of it, accompanying it. That's next month. Very excited for that. Also next month, Pedro the Lion, of course, as we've talked about, both of us seeing those 2 album back-to-back shows. So that's my very lengthy list of winners. Very excited about all those records and shows, and it's been a good stretch for me with those. So pumped for all that.
Hell yeah. Also excited about that Boy Genius record.
Yeah.
I've sort of slowly started putting together my albums so far this year, or albums I need to check out. So I'm not really gonna get into those yet. I know that we'll probably talk ad nauseum about some of these records throughout the year. But I can't remember if I only briefly discussed this in passing, because we haven't done like a Winter Circle or a Joy Boys in so long. But earlier this month, I got to see Eluveitie live at the Caboose in Minneapolis.
Great venue.
And so not only did I get to see them, so they're like a Swiss folk metal band with like some Celtic kind of vibes, and there's amazing guitar work, amazing vocals, like flutes and hurdy-gurdy, and just all sorts of like amazing instrumentation. Super into them.
Originally it came on our radar thanks to Shadow producer Jason being like, I watch this video twice a week. It was the Rebirth video.
Yeah, that song blows my mind. I wish I could go back in time and experience that song for the first time. And just being like, oof, I did not expect this. But the biggest takeaway for me that was learning about this band Seven Spires, which is they're from, I believe they're from Boston, if I'm not mistaken.
Sounds right.
But Seven Spires is they're a metal band, but they kind of have like I guess they're sort of like a symphonic metal band. And when I first saw them described as that, like the first thing that kind of came to mind was like, I don't know, like Evanescence or something.
Right.
And like I saw there's a female vocalist, and I'm like,
are we gonna be in Wake Me Up territory?
Yeah, I can't wake up, wake me up inside, I was like, I don't know, maybe this is my thing. But I threw on a song, and I think everybody should go and look up the Gods of Debauchery music video, and just like experience that the way I experienced the Eluveitie Rebirth, because it just like so much about it was unexpected for me. But yeah, they were incredible. Also, this past month I got to see the Beths at First Ave. I was supposed to see them last month, but it was when we had a stupid snowstorm. They rescheduled, and we were, I think, the last stop on this run of the tour, because they had to reschedule us. But they're going to be back in the US for an extended period of time this year, because they're going to be touring with the National.
Yes, that's right.
Which I would love to be able to go to that show, but The Beths, truly amazing. Love them very much.
Also, live up to expectations.
Oh gosh, yes. Ugh. They were also all so charming because they all have that delightful New Zealand accent, and it makes me just think of they could all be some sort of like Taika Waititi character in a movie. Just like everything out there, their sense of humor was so dry, but so biting and funny.
Nice.
But I was really into it. The bass player, like he dragged a mini fridge up on stage and like had like sodas and like milk and other beverages inside the mini fridge, and and as a gag, as a bit, they like had the mini fridge mic'd, which I thought was funny.
Nice.
But they were great. And then that next week I got to see Cara at the Turf Club.
From your top 10 albums of the year.
Top 10 albums of the year. So they were so great.
Cool.
The one thing about the Turf Club, and I said, I hope you guys come back and play a different venue, because while I enjoy the Turf Club as a venue, the sound guy there sucks. And you could tell they were sort of getting visibly frustrated, and I didn't want to like say anything to them, after the show when I was like went up and I was chatting with them and telling them how much I loved the record. The vocals were like way too low, and it just wasn't mixed well. But it was a really, really fucking rad show.
Yeah, it's a great space to see a band, but my only context for it is like seeing local bands that I've seen a bunch. So it would be kind of a bummer it's not a space known for its like amazing acoustics. So yeah.
Not music related. Opening night, went to go see John Wick.
Ooh, hell yeah.
In the theater, and it holds up to, if you're a John Wick fan, it's got everything you want.
You're thinking he's back?
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm back. We were joking about how much Keanu Reeves was paid, because
is it a lot?
There's a headline, guess how much money Keanu Reeves made per word in John Wick.
Sounds like one of your quiz questions.
Yes. So he was paid $15 million for his role in the movie, and thanks to those who love a good factoid, that means Keanu Reeves was paid $39,473 per word.
All right. John Wick, not the most loquacious.
No. We were doing the math, and that so it was 380 words, approximately 380 words that he said. And Kristen was like, I wonder what percentage of that was just
yeah.
And I said 10%. That means 38 yeahs, which feels right.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And she's like 1.5 million just for yeah.
I mean, worth it. Is there a better yeah deliverer among us?
It's just so like you can fit the entirety of everything he said on a single page.
Yeah.
Oh man, but it was
rules.
Yeah. So it's if you don't mind watching people just get lit up.
I don't mind. I have not seen it yet, but I would like to. Speaking of Keanu Reeves adjacent things, one movie I watched this week that I would like to shout out is Speed Racer, which was made by the Wachowskis. Have you ever seen Speed Racer?
No, that was the one that came out like a decade ago or something like that.
Yeah, 2008 or 9. Here's the thing about Speed Racer. It fucking rules. It's so good. And like I had seen kind of clips of it over the years, but when it came out, the rap on it was like, oh, it's like digital kind of candy. It's just sort of garbage. Like it looks it's like too overwhelming and there's nothing really beyond the visuals. But like cinephiles and like, you know, the Wachowski heads out there have been beating the drum for this thing for years. It's like, this is kind of like a secret masterpiece. So I'd long wanted to watch it. It's streaming on HBO Max right now. I threw it on. I was like, Sabbatical John is a guy who throws on movies whenever. I was like, God, this is great. I love it. So yes, the visuals are amazing, but maybe it sort of took like the culture, like time to catch up with where their vision was at, where like at the time, maybe it was overwhelming and now it just looks really cool, I think. So anyway, shout out to a 15-year-old movie that I think rules, Speed Racer. Wachowskis are great. Go check it out. And my immediate thought was like, I want to watch this right away on drugs again. So perhaps I will throw down on some edibles and do a Speed Racer commentary for you at some point. Maybe that's a Patreon. We can both down some gummies and watch Speed Racer together.
Into that. Love that.
Great movie. I will give you a brief Mario review as long as we're in movie corner here.
Please do it.
I would say it's okay. It's fine. Like it was fun. It breezed by. There was nothing to offend me in the way of many kids movies where I'm just like, ugh. Like it's fun enough. It's not really like a story as much as it's like, oh, I know what we'll do. They'll take the Rainbow Road. Yeah, they'll take that over to Donkey Kong and he'll do the Donkey Kong thing. And then they'll go over here. It's just like a collection of like, you know, this thing that happens from the games, which is like fun to see. And I'm not asking for it to be like an amazing piece of storytelling or anything, but it's not really like so much a story as is just, you know, a collection of those different things. But it's fun to say, I wanted to see Rainbow Road and see them turn around. I wanted to see like Luigi getting scared by some skeletons. I wanted to see, you know, Donkey Kong pounding the ground and all that stuff. So I think it delivers. My kids had a great time. Miles said it was the best movie he's ever seen. So that's his review. It's a good time.
I think with as much lore as there is for Mario, I would think there would be more stuff to mine for that.
Yeah, they could have come up with something a little more compelling, I think. And Chris Pratt is not, you know, as good as he is in the Lego Movie. All the jokes about Pratt as Mario aside, not the most inspired choice in the long run. But they do kind of do a cute thing where, you know, no spoilers, but the movie literally opens with them doing a commercial for them as the Super Mario Brothers like plumbing service in Brooklyn. And they sing the song from the old Super Mario show of our youth, like the cartoon song, where it's like, "Well, you hooked on the brothers." So they sing that the brothers, which is great.
Yes.
And in the commercial, he's like, "Hey, it's a Mario, called the Super Mario Brothers." And then after the commercial, he's like, "Do you think it was the right call for me to use that accent?" So they like kind of acknowledge it in sort of a cheeky way. It would be sort of weird if he spent the whole movie being like, "Wee, let's go, okay, Luigi," you know, like. But it is kind of weird to just hear Chris Pratt being like, "What do you think, Peach?" I don't know. It's kind of a bummer. But on the whole, it's fun. You know, I told the boys about the Super Mario movie, which I famously wanted to see immediately after watching the first time from the early 90s. And I was like, you guys know there's a Super Mario movie that exists already, right? And they were kind of like, I think you told us about that. Like, they weren't really too into it. And we watched the trailer and they were like, maybe we'll watch it. I don't know. It's like, that movie is very strange. So
it's also very dark.
It's very dark. It's more like
literally
RoboCop than it is
like
Super Mario Brothers.
Tone wise, yeah.
Very strange movie. They weren't necessarily excited to throw down on it, but what you can accuse that movie of doing is not having an interesting story. They had a story there, even though if it was sort of incomprehensible. But anyway, and any other winners to shout out here?
Charlie Bliss.
Hell yeah.
Muna, Cursive, Pedro. Then, you know, of course, Taylor later in June.
Oof, yeah.
The Bad Time Records ska show happening in July. So there's lots of good music to come, lots to report. Also do have a handful of losers out there, but I'm feeling, you know, it's been tough out there for your boy. I'd like to remain positive. I'd like to, at least for now, skip some losers unless you wanna. I'm
gonna briefly shout out some losers. Not to end us on a bad note, just to be like, as we're recording tonight.
Yes.
the losers are the Tennessee Republican-led House, which just expelled 3 members for, in their words, inciting an insurrection. In reality, speaking out of turn in support of the protesters who'd been filling the Capitol in the streets for weeks, asking them to do anything about gun violence and the recent shootings in Nashville, which are horrible. Children murdered, not to get too dark, but perhaps that might move the needle. But nope. Instead, when anybody tries to do anything, they are literally removed from the legislature. So this was three Democratic members who were voted on to be expelled. They ended up only expelling 2 of them, and go figure, the 2 that were expelled were the black ones. So 2 of them were young men of color. The other was a white woman. She ended up being able to stay on. What they'll have to do now is special elections, and they'll probably win again because they actually represent the most populous areas of the state. The cities where people are asking them to do something, versus all these old white guys who are in charge of the supermajority deciding to just straight up remove people when they don't agree with what they're doing now. So a terrifying state of things that probably suggests for other supermajority run states that this is the new move, is just fascism. We don't like what you did. Yeah, aka fascism. We don't like what we did, so we're going to just remove you from the legislature.
That and the media.
Right. Yeah, just really scary and awful. And, America is the ultimate loser in this loser lounge because of our inability to do anything about gun violence. But it's really reflected in this microcosm pretty perfectly, because it's the reason that we can't do something is not because of lack of will of the people who have continued to just line the streets and line the Capitol every day there, people pleading to do anything, and just the indifference of, these white guy Republicans who are in charge and just refuse to do absolutely anything about it. We were talking about Bobby G earlier, boy Robert Gay, who is in Nashville and has been directly affected by that incident. I don't know if he necessarily wants me to talk about it, but he's been in the news and stuff related to it, so I might as well say it. But that I think one of the women who was murdered had been his teacher at some point. I think that's correct. So he has a very personal connection to it, and he's been very active in the streets at the Capitol in these protests, and just hearing, the pleas from people in this community. And Colorado, a frequent place, a lot of Five Iron members have talked to us about this, and people there are just this, it's not stopping, and it continues to just be enraging and heartbreaking, the level of inaction that is met with these incidents. So anyway, I don't want to end us on a bummer note, just to say really scary thing happening just as we're recording, so I wanted to mention just the absolute losers there. And that's all I'll say about that.
We don't want to ban weapons of war, but drag queens, truly the most dangerous thing happening in America.
Any books, talking about, consent in school, or whether people might not fit on the
trans
male,
people
female
existing.
spectrum. Yeah, it's just, it's such an obvious case of we're going to focus away from what the problem is by naming this new boogeyman. There's always a new scapegoat. There's always
wokeism, which is nothing.
So, continuing bleak and scary times for this country. Nothing new for us, but I'm trying to. Jenny and I are talking about ways to, in her words, do something instead of do nothing. So we're trying to set up some meetings with, at least in our state, our representative and our 2 senators are very much on board with trying to vote again on an assault weapons ban. The House already passed that last year, obviously. The Senate is reluctant to do it because they won't get it passed because they need 60 votes, which means 9 Republicans, and they won't get them. So, but, I want to keep in touch with our representatives to be like, hey, you might not get to vote on this, but can you keep talking about this all the time, and talking about how important it is that we try to do something, how just wild it looks for the rest of the world to look at us and be like, why are you not doing anything? So anyway, that's all bad, but what's good is my friendship with you.
Yes.
Talking about these winners. John Wick saying, yeah, me moving up there. Lots of things to celebrate. So
for sure.
Hey man, there's nothing I like more than talking about the highs and lows of our weeks and our lives. And it feels really good to be just back here bullshitting with you again.
Absolutely.
We have more to come soon. More, proper episodes with albums and interviews and all that, but felt like we owed it to the MagPod Nation to review your thoughtful thoughts together. So thank you as always for always sending those in.
Yes. We'll get back into a better rhythm there.
Yeah.
Going forward.
We will. We won't segment them off for months at a time. But yes, anything you want to close with before we close things out this week?
I would just say may your khaki boners be stiff.
Perfect. I didn't mean to pressure you into a side up or anything. I just was there anything else you wanted to get to?
No. All right. I think this is a good ep to just kind of get us back into this rhythm. Yeah. And, we have some episodes coming up with some more interviews and some more artists that that aren't new to us,
right?
So that will kind of get back into more familiar territory for your boys.
Indeed. About to spoil that in a second here. Well, please keep the voicemails, the emails, the voice memos coming. We love hearing them. We love how thoughtful you all are and have been for years. And we appreciate hearing the ways that our experiences have resonated for you and that you felt similarly about. And it just means a lot to always hear from you all. So keep it up. And you can share your thoughts at Magnified Pod on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Follow and subscribe to the pod if you haven't already. Give us a rating or review. We'll read your Apple Podcast review on the show. You can email us at magnifiedpod@gmail.com.
You can leave us a voicemail at 872-762-4763, 872-7-MAG-POD.
You can support us at the Patreon at patreon.com/magnifiedpod, where we'll be doing some stuff again soon, we promise. And you can pick up some season 4 merch at magnifiedpod.storeenvy.com. Thanks to Small Step Records for sponsoring us. Go to smallsteprecords.com to learn more. Thanks to Shadow Producer Jason and Bruno at Unoriginal Vinyl for our artwork. Well, I think you hear the voice of the spirit begging us to shut the fuck up. We'll be back to try to make you go astray next week when we'll discuss Floating World by Anna Thalo. Ooh, baby. Little tease. That's so good.
Yes. I have numerous anecdotes about seeing them, the first time I saw them, who I saw them with when I saw them. And yes,
it's a good tease.
I'm really excited to get into them because they were a band that the first time they were the first band that this is a little tease for those who listen to the very, very end of the episodes. They were one of the first bands that blew my mind outside of this my experience of just pretty much straight ahead punk rock or metal or whatever, but that music could be so much bigger and not just the music itself, but what they were doing on stage with the instruments and so I'm really excited to get into that.
Can't wait to get into it. We both love Anna Thalo. We both have pretty deep connections to them. But yeah, just listening to these little snippets we've been of their songs in preparation was like, oh my God, I love this so much. I cannot wait to get into this. So these won't be episodes where we're like, I don't know, it's kind of fuzzy, weird. I'm checking out. These will be the ones where we're like, and then this thing happens, and then this thing happens. So I hope others are as pumped as we are about this Anna Thalo run.
For more shows like this one, visit rockcandyrecordings.com.